Hello, my name is Jeremy Diner. Thank you, Lori, and anyone else that might be watching. I appreciate your attention, and I'm very excited to be a part of this interview process. So let's get to it. Question 1. Tell us a bit about your qualifications for the position, including your relevant education, experience, and interest. I received my Master's of Integrated Water Management from the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia. Studied there because Australia is a world leader in water management, and I wanted to learn from the experts. There were 2 semesters of coursework and 1 semester thesis. During this time, I did a significant research project on transboundary water management in the Colorado Basin for my water governance and policy class, which culminated in a 30-minute presentation about water sharing, legacy legal frameworks, and collaboration. Compared to the rest of America, Colorado Basin most closely follows the example set by Australia. This is a big reason why I want to work in the region. I know Fort Collins isn't technically in the basin, but considering the Colorado Big Thompson project, Fort Collins is certainly part of the stakeholder base. Other relevant classes I took include project management, water planning and economics, catchment and aquatic ecosystems, water supply and sanitation, sustainability and development, and the science of water. The overarching themes throughout all of these classes were participation, communication, and a focus on the triple bottom line. Over the course of my studies, I came to believe that demand management is one of the most important aspects of effective water management in arid regions of developed countries. The best way to do this is through a collaborative approach with a heavy focus on education and outreach. So in my opinion, you've got it right. I also hold a bachelor's in environmental technology from North Carolina State University. I have a keen interest in using a different kind of demand management to promote the adoption of these latest technologies. Okay, so my experience. Primary experience that makes me qualified for this position is my work as a water conservation specialist with the Center for Resource Conservation in Boulder, which I saw is a partner of yours through the Garden in a Box program. I personally conducted hundreds of audits from Denver to Loveland and led teams responsible for multiple 200 zone homeowners association audits in Loveland. I was responsible for all reporting on these massive projects. I was also the only staff member involved in all of the Slow the Flow campaigns. Beyond my day-to-day work, I also volunteered to assist with impact assessment research by looking at the long-term effectiveness of matched precipitation rotary nozzles for saving water. I was one of the few team members that was asked to stay on past my contract end date, and I was also a significant contributor to the improvement of an irrigation audit application for tablets. If hired, I would love to serve as a liaison to help bring that app to Fort Collins. In this role, I also learned a lot about indoor water conservation from CRC's primary water technician. I have a personal relationship with Paul Lander, a guru of water conservation at CU Boulder, and I also know Ron Boyd, the manager of the Xeriscape Gardens at Northern Water, another partner of yours. Above all, I highly encourage you to contact Tyler Kessler, the Water Programs Manager at the Center for Resource Conservation, for a reference. You will find his contact information on my resume. Regarding my interest, over the last summer, I was surprised to learn how much I love discussing water management through the lens of irrigation. It's a subject that can truly bring all stakeholders to the same table. From extreme left to extreme right, everybody that I met this summer genuinely cared about saving water. Being invited into hundreds of homes as the water guy was great, but walking away knowing that I taught somebody something, or in some cases significantly reduced their water use, is a feeling that kept me going. I loved it. Working with the City of Fort Collins to take my previous efforts to the next level as your water conservation specialist would be a career I would be proud of for years to come. Question 2. What experience do you have with developing and managing projects? Give us an example. I'll start by elaborating a bit more about my master's class on project management. We focused on participatory methods, results-based management, logical framework analysis, approaches to implementation. We also learned Microsoft Project, worked with budgets, extensively discussed ethics, and we developed skills for social impact assessment and general monitoring and evaluation. I used all of these skills in the following examples. For my master's thesis, I worked in Cambodia with a women organization for modern economy and nursing, or WOMEN for short. I was the only foreigner in the entire organization of several hundred people. I spent the first couple of weeks watching and learning. Here is a picture I took during my first week of a large ceremony celebrating the rehabilitation of the main lake in the region. Once I had a grasp on the subject, I designed my project, developed goals with stakeholders, created indicators, designed a survey, recruited staff to help. I implemented 2 surveys, I collated and applied the results, and I eventually wrote my thesis. All of this while fulfilling the duties I was hired to do, which were mainly reporting to the United Nations Development Program. The result of this 5-month project was the creation of project guiding information. I highlighted a disproportionate impact from men than women and an unexpected lack of project awareness in certain villages, which led to immediate action from my boss. I also received the highest grade possible on my thesis from the University of Queensland, and my work is being used today as an example of an exemplary thesis for current students. Another example of leadership in project design and management is my side project with International Expeditions, or IE, a large ecotourism company based in Alabama. My friend and I developed an idea to create a program focused on bringing students into nature and out of their comfort zone to learn. We used our networks to get a meeting with the top executives, created a presentation, business plan, and handouts. We then drove 10 hours to present our idea and negotiated over the course of many months after that. We recently received a contract for the official development of IE Academy. We are responsible for the specialized promotion, marketing, outreach, education, and sales. Here you'll see the first piece of official IE Academy promotional material that was only finalized this week. Question 3. Describe a project where collaboration with outside groups or internal staff was key to success. Here, I'd like to talk about my work at CH2M Hill. I spent over 2 years here as an environmental consultant performing site assessments, remediation, and unexploded ordnance removal. The project I worked on that required the greatest amount of collaboration was clearing munitions from the surface of an island that was a former bomb target in eastern North Carolina. You can see here it looks more like Swiss cheese than an actual island. In the end, this task required a work plan with the capacity to evacuate about 4,000 people from a neighboring island if we found bombs of a certain size. Here you see all the adjacent beachfront houses. Hundreds of bombs were dropped on this island over the course of several years, and there was no record of whether or not they detonated. Our core team of 4 staff collaborated with over 30 organizations, including the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, several environmental groups and community organizations, half a dozen subcontractors, which included explosive suppliers, explosives transporters, unexploded ordnance technicians, vibration monitoring teams, boat captains, and staging infrastructure capable of demilitarizing live munitions. On top of that, the core team of 4 sat in 4 different offices across the country. We became the laughingstock of our mutual offices. Nobody thought we were ever going to get this project completed. Collaboration was key because most of the stakeholders needed to be aware of our plans and have opportunities to provide feedback about their needs and desires. Other stakeholders became critical partners to help us understand the feasibility of what we were trying to do. We went back to the drawing board countless times as more information became available. For example, one stakeholder made us aware that the largest potential bomb we might come across was actually 20 times larger than we were originally planning for. They had documents to support it. So we suddenly found ourselves looking for an unexploded 2,000-pound bomb. This piece of information made the difference between evacuating a few hundred people and several thousand. In the end, over a year of planning led to the successful completion of this project. The surface of the island is now free of munitions, and thankfully, no evacuation was required. Question 4. Explain why you are the ideal candidate for this position. The experiences that I've discussed demonstrate that I'm highly qualified for this position, but experiences are only part of what define a person. Most often, what makes an ideal candidate is intangible compared to professional experience. I believe that these intangible aspects of my personality, such as my motivation, passion, problem-solving abilities, communication skills, and aptitude for leadership, are what truly make me an ideal candidate. For example, my mom suffered a spinal cord injury last year and is now in a wheelchair. Almost every therapist she's seen has encouraged me, or even pleaded with me, to change my career path to occupational therapy. One woman even offered me her business. This is because a combination of my problem-solving abilities, creativity, and passion allow me to assess a situation and quickly and effectively develop unique solutions. In the last year, I've invented or significantly improved upon about 10 tools that help her lead a more normal life. I even considered pursuing a patent for one invention, but in the end, I decided to get back on the path of water management. These intangibles are the attributes that assure that I will be there, working every day at my very best, to to make sure that Fort Collins reaches or exceeds the goal of 140 gallons per capita per day by 2020, and more importantly, in my opinion, reducing peak demand below 350. I do my research, I continually go above and beyond what is expected from me, and I learn very quickly. I'm also friendly, fun, and know how to turn off work mode and enjoy a beer with my coworkers when the time is appropriate. Because after all, breweries represent a major stakeholder in the mission to conserve water along the Front Range, and it'd be an absolute shame to leave them out of the conversation. Thank you again for taking the time to consider how I would contribute to your team as your next water conservation specialist. From what I can tell, Fort Collins Water Conservation Program is absolutely on the cutting edge, set an example for how developed countries across the world for how they need to manage their water resources in the future. I'd consider being a part of this team to be an honor and a privilege. I very much look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you.